For management purposes, Louisiana's state waters are divided into inside and outside waters. The shrimp line separates these waters. It generally follows the coastline from the Louisiana-Texas state line to the Louisiana-Mississippi state line. Inside waters, landward of the shrimp line, are inshore waters. Outside waters, seaward out to 3 nautical miles, are the territorial seas. Inside waters are further divided by major estuarine basins. Trawl, skimmer and butterfly nets cannot be used for any purpose in state waters during the closed shrimp season. Shrimp seasons are flexible and are determined by the Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries Commission based upon biological and technical data relative to shrimp populations as well as public input. The spring inshore season usually begins in early to mid-May, and may extend into July. The fall inshore season usually begins near mid-August and typically extends into December. The shrimp season in Louisiana's outside territorial waters is generally open year-round except for a closed season in portions of state outside waters, which may be set during the late winter to early spring months, usually beginning in December or January and extending into March or May. The shrimp season in the EEZ is usually open year-round. There is a minimum possession of 100 count, whole shrimp per pound, on white shrimp taken in either inside or outside, offshore, waters of Louisiana. This size restriction applies to the taking or possession of such shrimp aboard a vessel. There is no possession count on white shrimp taken or possessed from October 15th through the third Monday in December. When more than 50% by weight of the shrimp taken or possessed is sea barbs or brown shrimp, the maximum allowable amount of undersized white shrimp taken or possessed shall not exceed 10% by weight of the total shrimp taken or possessed. A recreational fisherman is allowed to use dip nets, bait sends, and cast nets not to exceed 8.5 feet in radius. Recreational fishermen shall not take at any time more than 50 pounds of shrimp per day during closed shrimp season and 100 pounds of shrimp per day during the open season, in the aggregate, per boat or vehicle, regardless of the number of persons thereon. Shrimp taken are to be used for bait or for the fisherman's own consumption and are not sold, traded or otherwise permitted to enter into commerce. Certain WMAs and state or federal refuges may have different rules. Always check with an LDWF enforcement office if you have questions. Night shrimping is prohibited between the hours of 1/2 hour after sunset to 1/2 hour before sunrise in the following areas: Vermilion Bay, East and West Cote Blanche Bays, and in Atchafalaya Bay, from the western shore of Vermilion Bay to the western shore of the Atchafalaya River and the Atchafalaya River ship channel out to Eugene Island as described by the inside-outside line. Trawling at night is prohibited in Cameron Parish sections of Calcasieu Lake, the Black Lake Bayou System, Grand Bayou, Little Burton's Ditch. Trawls cannot have a mesh size less than 5/8 inch bar or 1 1/4 inch stretch. In that portion of state inside waters from the western shore of the Atchafalaya River to the western shore of Vermilion Bay and southwest pass at Marsh Island, mesh size must not be less than 3/4 inch bar or 1 1/2 inch stretch during the fall inshore shrimp season. Shrimp taken recreationally may only be used for bait or the fisherman's own consumption and may not be sold, traded or otherwise permitted to enter. Shrimping is a popular recreational activity that allows fishing enthusiasts to venture into the world of crustaceans. Whether you're a seasoned angler or a beginner looking to explore a new hobby, recreational shrimping offers a unique and exciting experience. In this comprehensive guide, we'll take you through everything you need to know to get started with recreational shrimping and make the most of your adventures on the water. Shrimping is typically done in coastal areas, estuaries, and tidal creeks using various methods such as cast netting, trapping, or even hand-picking in shallow waters. Shrimp tend to congregate in areas with marshes, seagrass beds, and sandy or muddy bottoms. Online forums, local fishing communities, and tackle shops can be excellent resources for gathering information about productive shrimping spots. The most common way to catch shrimp is throwing a weighted cast net over a school of shrimp and then pulling it back towards you. It is recommended that you get some practice in throwing the net before in order to have your technique down. Setting up baited traps is another technique that requires you to check the traps regularly. Another way of catching shrimp is by using a dip net. By boat, raft, or even wading in shallow waters, you can attempt to net shrimp in upper water columns. In order for someone to recreationally shrimp, a person must have a fishing license. In order to take or attempt to take shrimp from saltwater must have a valid fishing license. Specific rules and exemptions vary state to state, so be sure to look up the local fishing regulations for where you plan to fish to get the most accurate information. There are a variety of places to go recreational shrimping in the US. The Gulf Coast is home to great shrimping spots in states like Texas, Louisiana, and especially Florida. Check out our guide on the best places to shrimp in Florida for a more in-depth list on great Florida shrimping spots. Cast nets are the most common tools used in recreational shrimping. Opt for a net with a mesh size suitable for the shrimp species you'll be targeting. The size of the net typically ranges from 6 to 10 feet, depending on your preference and the fishing area. Dip nets are a very popular method of netting shrimp and are especially great for kids. Dip nets tend to have a smaller mesh and a long pole-like handle, allowing the user to have a further reach. A seine net is a large rectangular-shaped net with floats along the top edge and weights along the bottom edge. Seine nets are designed to be used in shallow water areas such as estuaries, marshes, or along the shoreline. This type of net offers the advantage of covering a larger area compared to other shrimping methods such as cast netting or dip netting. They can be particularly effective when targeting shrimp in shallow water areas, as they allow for the capture of a significant number of shrimp in a single haul. Baiting traps with fish heads, chicken necks, or cat food can attract shrimp. Make sure to check local regulations regarding the use of traps and any restrictions on bait. Depending on the shrimping method and location, you may require a boat or kayak to access prime shrimping grounds. Ensure your vessel is in good condition and equipped with safety gear. Shrimp are often attracted to light at night. Using underwater lights can help lure them closer to your net, increasing your chances of a successful catch. You'll need containers to hold your caught shrimp. Make sure they have lids to keep the shrimp fresh and prevent them from escaping. Optional but recommended, gloves can protect your hands from any sharp objects or pinchy shrimp. One of the best parts about catching your own shrimp is how fresh they are when cooking and eating them. Shrimp can be served in a variety of ways, making them one of the easiest and tastiest seafoods out there. Check out our guide on the top 5 ways to cook shrimp. Recreational shrimping offers a unique and rewarding experience for people wanting to catch their own seafood. If you're looking to get out on the water and pull in some shrimp, check out our shrimping guides to book your shrimping trip with one of our local professional guides. When I was a child, my family would visit my relatives in Charleston, South Carolina. We'd caravan out to their house in the country that was smack dab next to a saltwater creek. There was a dock and we'd spend hours fishing for blue crabs off the dock, using a length of cotton string and a chicken neck for bait. We'd tie on a weight and the chicken neck and lower it down into the water until we felt the tug from a crab. Slowly and carefully we'd pull up the crab and then scoop it up with a ready net. Occasionally a jumbo shrimp would latch onto that chicken neck and we'd get a glimpse of it until it darted off in the muddy water. I think at that point in my life I first became interested in how to catch shrimp using a shrimp trap rather than a chicken neck tied to a string. Surely a shrimp trap or pot would actually catch shrimp as opposed to the chicken neck method. When the tide was low, my Uncle Ike and cousin Tommy and my dad Lamar would take out the seine and drag it down the creek in the remaining pools, to catch shrimp and fish and crabs. We kids would tag along and see what interesting stuff we could find. As far as I can remember, there is no better tasting shrimp than fresh caught wild shrimp. We love shrimp. My aunts, uncles and cousins and my family would gather around and feast on the seafood bounty we all gathered. It was an incredible time, and I greatly covet these memories of being with family and catching and gathering our food the old-fashioned way from nature. Now, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I go fishing and crabbing on the ocean with the Tolman skiff Jumbo I built in my driveway. We are lucky here to have access to the Pacific Ocean and the San Francisco Bay and the Napa, Sacramento and Petaluma rivers.
We're separating the squat lobster from the shrimp.
I love being on the water and I love fishing and I love eating seafood. Shrimp baiting is a method used by recreational fishermen for catching shrimp. In the 1980s, the sport became popular in the southeastern coastal states of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Since then, several local state regulations have been implemented to better regulate catch limits, methods, and seasons.
Definitely double pot.
Shrimp baiting uses a cast net, bait and long poles. The long poles are used to mark a specific location, and then bait is thrown in the water near the pole. After several minutes, the cast net is thrown as close to the bait as possible and the shrimp are caught in the net. The bait balls can be made of just about anything a shrimp will eat. The most common bait is a mixture of powdered clay and fish meal, typically ground menhaden. Other popular baits are flour, cornmeal, cat food, and chicken feed. The bait typically includes a binding agent such as clay or Portland cement. The balls range in size from a tennis ball to a softball and are typically flattened out to a hamburger shape. In addition to running the poles from a boat, some people bait from the shore or docks.
Lots of mud. And some shrimp.
A permit is required for this, along with the landowner's permission. Some people will place a single pole in front of the boat and use 3 anchors in a Y pattern to hold the boat still. Then they throw the bait out around the boat. Shrimpers have also begun using an auger-type pole to hold the boat in a fixed point, and then use their trolling motor to rotate around this fixed point, allowing them to bait in a 360-degree arc the radius of the boat.
We had a good day today. We got a big toad over there with a bunch in it.
This technique can be highly effective. In South Carolina, a shrimp baiting permit provides the fisher with 10 tags. A tag must be placed on each of up to 10 poles. The poles, used to mark the bait location, must be 1 inch in diameter or less and have reflective tape. The typical setup is to place 10 poles in a single row and then drive a boat beside the poles and drop bait balls 6 to 10 feet from each pole. The shrimp will find the bait and begin feeding as the tide carries the bait to them. It's fall, and the season that we head out the Golden Gate to drop our best crab pots and catch limits of Dungeness crabs and perhaps drop a line or two in 180 feet of water to catch a mess of sand dabs. This year I plan to also drop a line of shrimp pots and try to catch a mess of coonstripe shrimp, also known as coonstripe prawns or dock shrimp. Answer: I aim to become an expert on choosing, rigging, and using shrimp pots or shrimp traps, and catching our local coonstripe shrimp and spot prawns.
Pulling in a second pot here with this first one. And we do have some shrimp on board, which I'll get in the photograph here in a little bit. Not too much here, but a little bit. Not too much in that one.
I aim to share this knowledge with my friends at the Coastside Fishing Club and anyone else who desires to catch their own shrimp. I plan on putting together a complete tutorial, below, on catching coon striped shrimp. It should be easy for anyone who has access to the ocean to set the correct gear in a place that holds the shrimp, use effective bait and to catch as many shrimp as they desire to consume. How to rig your shrimp pot. List of shrimping materials. Your choice of shrimp pot or shrimp trap. There are many brands and types of shrimp traps available for purchase online or in store. Visit your local tackle store, and if they have no shrimp pots in stock, inquire about getting them. Beware that some areas of the country have very specific requirements of shrimp pot dimensions and mesh size, number of traps, and depths and areas to fish in. I am going to start out with a couple of Protico shrimp traps with 1/2 inch by 1 inch mesh that I purchased from the Outdoor Pro Shop in Oakland, California. These run about $78 each. They are vinyl coated and have 4 tunnel entrances, and a pre-installed bait cage in the center. You'll need a length of 1/4 or 5/16 inch lead weighted line that is longer than the depth you want to fish at. Minimally 20 to 25% longer than depth at high tide. I've been using blue steel 5/16 inch lead core line I got from SEMA.com a couple years ago for my Danielson crab traps. This year I'll be using 2 additional crab pots made by Protico.com. It's important to use weighted line so that another boater or even yourself doesn't come along and run over your floating line and then foul the prop. A propeller wrapped with crab pot line or shrimp pot line can be incredibly dangerous. Just this year an elderly couple lost their lives when their prop became fouled in a crab pot line in large dangerous seas. Folks think the tangle forced the boat to turn away from the large swell, and then when the wave broke over the boat it filled the stern of the boat and quickly flipped it over, throwing the couple into the 51-degree water. I've seen many floating crab lines and have luckily been able to avoid getting my prop tangled up. The idiots who drop their crab and shrimp traps in a heavily traveled channel and do so with floating line held up by Clorox bottles are unnecessarily endangering many people's lives. You must use proper